Hello, my name is Eddie Rangel, and this is my presentation of solutions. So starting off, I'm going to be going over four main things in this presentation. It's going to be the goal, the message, concept, and some images to support the concept. And the subject of my presentation will be public transportation, and a demographic will be college students. So the goal of this is to promote and encourage college students to take public transportation by setting the message of cutting their costs and saving their money. So before anything, I had to do a little bit of research on both these two things just to get a better understanding of them. So while doing the research, I created a visual representation of a collage full of metaphors that are just supposed to be random but generate ideas. And some words from the metaphors include backpacks, students, headphones, laptops, lockers, piggy banks, babies, bikes, arcades, bus, neon signs, streets, traffic, and water pipes. So one of the words that really stuck to me from this list is broken piggy banks. Now, broken piggy banks comes from the metaphor broken piggy banks are like college students. Piggy banks are supposed to symbolize places to save money, and a broken one is meaning that you're spending your money. So making this apply to a college student means that students spend their money and often have a hard time saving it. College students are usually on a lower budget due to three main reasons. It's how they spend their money, what they spend their money on, and why they spend it on that. So now with these questions in mind, we can consider a solution for them to save money and think of some alternatives and ways they can do that. So going back to the idea of public transportation. Public transportation is known to be a very affordable alternative than driving, since driving can include expenses such as gas, car maintenance, and parking passes. Taking public transportation would allow students to significantly save money to spend later, which then leads me to my message. Save now, spend later. Save now referring to taking public transportation, and spend whatever you save later. And I will be showing these in the mediums of 2D, 3D, 4D, and 5D. So starting off with 2D, posters. So these would be a series of posters, and the visuals would be commands with an appeal of desire. So the first two posters are highlighting the negatives of driving. For example, the first one, stop paying for gas. Everyone knows that symbol and indicator, meaning to fill up your tank and spend more money. The second one is referring to parking passes on campus. Parking passes itself are super expensive, and saving money by not spending on one can significantly help students. While on the other hand, the last poster highlights the positives of taking public transportation. In this case, it's referring to the social aspect of it, taking it with friends and enjoying your commute. So the next medium is 3D, the piggy banks. So going back to the idea of piggy banks. Piggy banks are places where people save money and over time it accumulates. Now this is a direct reference to the metaphor students are like broken piggy banks, except in this case the piggy banks are intact. These piggy banks are not necessarily the typical pig banks. These are actually shapes of different vehicles you can take while taking public transportation, such as the bike on the left and the bus on the right. These piggy banks will be supported by 2D design, save now, spend later, reinforcing the message of saving their money. The idea is that students will see the piggy banks and students will consider putting their money into public transportation, literally. Except these piggy banks aren't actually going to be piggy banks, they're just a demonstration to get the point across. These are meant to be on display in front of offices such as the financial aid office and the cashier's office. The reason for this being that students go to these two offices for either financial assistance or paying for student fees slash tuition. So the next medium I'll be going over is the 4D, the social media ad. Now this social media ad can be found on any social media platform such as Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, etc. So it starts off with a student at a bus stop waiting for the bus, and scene 2 shows that he got picked up by the bus and he's on his way. Scene 3 that shows him putting money into his piggy bank. Scene 4 then repeats him at the bus stop once again, except a different day, different clothes. Scene 5, he's on the bus somewhere. Scene 6, he puts money in his piggy bank. And this time, in scene 7, he pulls out a hammer, breaks his piggy bank, and scene 8 reveals that he has gathered tons of money from taking the bus. And it ends with scene 9 saying, save now, spend later. The message behind this social media ad is saying that this student had a pattern of taking the bus every day, and as a result of that, he saved his money. This allowed the student to avoid car expenses such as gas, car maintenance, and parking passes. The last medium I'll be going over is the 5D, the dedicated student app. This app will be known as Transit, and its function is to view the schedule of buses, plan a trip, see the different routes, whether it be bike or bus, allow them to have access to view their savings, see different kinds of safety tips, and if they have any other questions, they can see the frequently asked questions tab. But in this case, we're going to be going over the savings tab. So the savings tab is supposed to function as an overview of the weekly savings for the student. This feature can act as a reward for students and motivate them to continue to save their money by taking public transportation. So in conclusion, I went over the goal, the message, the concept, and some images to support that concept. The next step is to figure out the art direction and style that this is going to go towards, but that is to be determined. Until then, I thank you for listening to the presentation.